wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours. Tonight we return to Orlando Ascended, the mage venue, where we bring ourselves to the sanctum of Miss Dahlia alone.
Dahlia's probably just, sitting in her living room. She's already taken care of the plants for today. So she's probably sitting in her living room, sipping on a cup of tea. Because tea is yummy.
You've noticed that Matthias has not been around very often today, as he normally is, and you actually haven't seen him all day.
It's a bit concerning, but he knows he doesn't technically live here. So, I mean, she can't, get onto him too much about not being there. Does mean she can't really leave the house, but...
After a moment, you do eventually sense him in the garden. Seems to be kind of standing out there in a slight bit of snowfall hitting the ground.
She would head out into the garden.
He seems to be staring at one of your main tree, so to speak, and seems to be deep in thought, just kind of staring at the tree with almost no focal point.
She kind of comes over and places a hand on his shoulder. Seriously. Timing.
I mean, I know Matthias has been in Dahlia's house a long time, but that was quick.
Seriously, dude. Your timing could not be worse. I am terribly sorry about him.
I'm not. This is comedy gold.
I mean, Matthias and Dahlia, maybe, when a mommy bear and a daddy bear love each other very much,
I mean, Dahlia really does not want kids. She,
Yeah, he seems to be just lost in thought. He doesn't even, really hear you approach or pay attention or anything, really.
Yeah, she kind of just places a hand on his shoulder. You okay, Matthias?
He feels very cold to the touch, and you can see a very small, thin layer of ice around him.
She kind of moves in and just wraps her arms around him from behind.
Eventually, he kind of slowly starts to move, and he puts a hand on yours. Says, sorry, I just lost in the past for a little bit there.
Are you okay?
They learn that someone, an old friend, is here again, and she is not happy with my... Let's just say did something I should never have done, and I lied to friends of mine.
We all have our reasons for doing the things we do.
It, I may have some baggage falling back on me here, I think, as the humans put it.
Happens more often than we care to admit. I have my fair share.
I do not know whether this person will be friend, foe, ex-lover, or ally. I'm just hoping I don't have to kill her here.
I guess we'll have to see then.
Tell me, how surrounded is your garden? Is there like a fence that surrounds her house, or is it open?
Yeah. The entire back is all fenced in.
By brick or...
A brick security / privacy fence. So it's about 6 feet tall, covered in vines and flowers.
It's after a while. Roll me a perception awareness.
Okay, let me actually get to her sheet. This is a shit dice pool. This ought to be fun. Really need to up her awareness. Difficulty standard?
Correct.
1 success.
Okay, you notice typically in your garden there's the smell of flowers, herbs, and other things, but you notice a small salt, kind of a taste, start to make itself known on the air, almost like if you were in the forest, it would have this. The air tends to have its own kind of taste when you're in certain areas, but now it feels like you've gone by the sea or something.
Just gonna turn on Matter Sight and look around.
You turn on Matter Sight. Not a whole lot changed in the air, other than there seems to be a little bit more salt, kind of as if you were by the ocean.
Then she's also gonna activate Life Sight.
Life Sight. You see the life around you in your garden of the tree of Matthias. But you eventually see, at least if you look out towards like the area where your house is positioned, and far enough away, you do see what appears to be a life form approaching.
She does not take kindly to people coming in uninvited. Enter my home uninvited at your own risk.
The life form then leaps over the fence and lands squarely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Lands squarely in the snow, and she stands up and kind of looks at you, and then looks at Matthias. and stands at a very relaxed posture, actually.
I don't know who you are, but you've entered my home. And I think you need to go.
She starts to speak, and then Matthias kind of picks up, and she's like, he says, Dahlia, hold on a moment for this one.
She kind of lets go of Matthias at that point because she had still had her arms around him.
Stands up tall, and they both look at each other. No words are exchanged. I'll go ahead and just take your roll from the last time. You hear a slight singing. Very faint, like a song you hear in the breeze or coming from an open window somewhere. And it's orchestral and intense. It's like a woman singing a beautiful opera. But it's more of a melody, a siren song, so to speak. There is, if you have your sight on for Prime, there is indeed energy and probably magic in the air. It does not seem to be targeting anything. It seems to be flowing. And then the woman finally pipes up a bit. 100 years. 100. That is how long I thought you dead, Matthias. 100 years. Would you like to explain yourself as to why I had to go ask Fezzi? Why I had to talk to Nitus? Well, I'm all ears, Matthias. You know why I did it. Don't take it personal. Take it personal. Too late for that, Matthias. And they stare at each other a bit more, and she says, well, okay. Tell me right now what the coin was. It was heads. Right. I see. Was it really worth that? To keep you, Fezzi, and Nidus safe? Yes, it was. I don't regret anything. No, I suppose you don't. Well, I want you to know I am over it. But there are two things that must happen, Matthias. One is recompense, and two is I just need to get this off my chest. I think I'm well aware. You don't need to say anything. I am your ally always. We were to be the shields and swords of each other, remember? That's the pact that we all took. Yeah. But at least the other of us didn't lie to one another. Make us think they were dead for 100 years. I don't care what the consequences were. The Baron can suck it. Fuck him. And when she declares that, when she says that, um, in a figurative speech, it feels almost like a bell has rung across kind of the area where you're in. And she says, "All right, but just to let you know, Matthias, this recompense will be by my terms." Go on. He walks forward a little bit, and he turns to you, Dahlia, and he says, "Whatever happens, don't interfere, please."
A little explanation would be nice.
I have caused this woman blood. Blood for blood must be paid.
And she had to invade my home to do so.
She's not a very patient woman, as you can see. She is a bit determined, isn't that right, Natasha? It's at this point that Natasha seems to actually notice you for the first time, Dahlia.
She was literally
And
standing there with her arms wrapped around him.
yeah, she literally was not paying attention to you at all. And now she is. She, if you look at her with the side, you can kind of see her shake a bit. And then she stands up. She had a bit of a slouch to her. And now she stands up straight and almost poised like a person at attention or a person of authority is supposed to stand. And she says, by uh, the Morgan rights of House Gwendolyn, I am sorry that I have approached your house.
Gwydion.
Gwydion, sorry. I am sorry that I have approached your house. I am sorry that I have stepped over your territory without proper etiquette and proper channels flowing. I ask the lady of the land that I settle this matter with Matthias outside of her property, since I have already done the disservice.
Oh no, it will be done with me present.
As you wish. And then, Matthias, let us proceed. All right. Blood for blood. And let's see how quick she is on this. Okay, cool. So she kind of hesitates a bit, which slows her down a bit. But she springs forward and just, for better lack of terminology, just wrecks Matthias in the face with a nasty looking right hook. And Matthias is taken aback a little bit by it, and he's like, oh, kind of stumbles back. And you can see pretty decent amount of blood coming out of his mouth now, because with life. And when it goes into the snow, even though you have seen him to be one of the ice trolls and specialized in cryos and whatnot, his blood seems to almost melt the snow that was around him. She says, "There."
At which point Dahlia is going to come over and heal him.
Easily enough, you easily are able to heal him. It was just bashing. And she takes like a deep breath, like she's trying to, you can hear her breathing very heavily. And after a moment, she seems to get this very pained look on her face, and then she just plops down on her butt. Sits with her hands over her knees and just looks at the ground.
Dahlia doesn't say anything. She's busy dealing with Matthias at the moment.
Mm-hmm. After about 5 or 10 minutes, she speaks up. She says, "You know, she still wants you, Matthias." Matthias blinks for a moment, and he's like, what? You're kidding, right?" "No, not at all. She has sent soldiers of the current barony over there to come and get you by force if needed." Matthias just looks taken aback, like he's just speechless at this point. Like, what? I, of course, if you figured it out, of course they would. You didn't tell anyone, did you? No. Only Fezzi, me, and Nitus knew you escaped, which means that someone else saw you during that day. Well, this is just terrific. I'm doing too much work here in Orlando to have to deal with these politics. You're kidding. After what I did, she still wants me back. Mm-hmm. She gives a little smile, and she's like, "You're out of luck." She gives a little smile and a wink to him. It's kind of a shame that, you and I never worked out, because, I wouldn't go nuts about you over this or anything. I just demand that, what is paid is paid. Matthias is just like, it looks like every time she opens her mouth and something comes out, he's just like, what? What is going on? Well, good
Dahlia
to
has a
see.
rag out cleaning the blood off of his face,
Yep.
by the way.
He pipes up and he touches Dahlia's shoulder and he says, "Thank you. I've had far worse."
Still,
Looks back at Natasha and he says,
as good as the blood is for the flowers.
"As much as I always love a good tussle, Natasha, can't you just come and say hello? Nice to see you too, like a normal." Oh, wait. She gives a little bit of a laugh. "No, of course not. It's part of the rules, Matthias. But you were never very good at following rules, were you?" "No, I was not. And if you're here, that means that you've broken a lot of rules too, and, someone's going to be angry at you." "Let them come. Doesn't matter anymore. House is all but, well, family is all but dead anyway." "Yeah, well,
I was going to
you..."
say, the Fae are quite populous here.
None of us are from this kingdom. We are far away. And if Tasha is here, she has given up much. I assume, Tasha, you've given up all your holdings and rights then?" "Yes, I have. I told them to shove it. I did not wish to be a part of that lie in Moscow. I know what happened. You know what happened. We all witnessed it. The way I see it, you, Fezzi, and Nitus are the only family I have. The rest can go to hell." "I haven't heard you use that terminology. You're picking up bad habits from the mortals and the dreamers." "As are you, it seems. And you even copied my jacket, Matthias." "Well, now hold on. I had this look first." And they just kind of look at each other and give a little giggle. Well, um, I think proper introductions are in order now that you've gotten that out of your system. Dahlia Lowly, meet Natasha
Lowry.
Lowry, sorry. Meet Tasha Romanoff, an old associate of mine. And she looks over at you, Dahlia, and she says, old flame and associate, but don't worry about that. I've gotten over him. I just like to remind him that he's an ass. Matthias
Kind
kind
of
of looks.
raises an eyebrow.
Matthias looks at her and he's like, "Hey, well, you are." And then she looks over at Dahlia, and then she looks back at Matthias, and she looks at Dahlia, and back at Matthias, and she says, "Well, I see." She kind of looks down at the snow, like she's contemplating and thinking. I see you have good taste still, Matthias. And then, of course, Matthias just starts going red. And she bows to you, Dahlia, in a very formal gesture, kind of similar to the old military standing that would have been done in like the Napoleonic Wars or whatnot. And she says, I do apologize again for the problem. It is my nature and an old habit that things are done the way they are, and I don't know if he's told you or you know much about banality, but it is something that we changelings go through, and it sometimes drives us to do things
You
that
didn't
are.
need to tell me.
Mhm.
Some of us study, others, myself being one of them.
She nods. She
I'm not
says,
what you call a dreamer. I am magi.
you are one of the will workers. You, in particular, are a will worker of the earth.
What gave it away? As she kind of, waves her hand with a flourish, and several of the
Yeah.
flowers just start blooming despite being covered in snow.
You have an aura about you. Something very powerful has spoken with you. You are one of the chosen.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She gives a little bit of a crook of a smile and she says, sniffs the air, squints her eyes at you, and then she says, huh, and then looks over at Matthias. Merlin? Matthias looks at her and just shrugs.
He is
And
my mentor.
Tasha looks very surprised and she's like, wow, Matthias, you have real good taste.
I've heard all about Matthias's escapades
Did he
and his
ever
insult to Nimue.
did he ever tell you that he did it based on a bet? And guess what the bet was? And then Matthias is literally looking like, no, 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 shut up, shut up.
Oh, really
No,
now?
no, don't tell.
Do tell.
Well, you see, and Matthias at this point has just given up and he's just kind of huddled over by the tree, like, no, no, no. And Tasha's like, well, turns out Matthias had a bit of an eye for this particular will worker in. I don't want to call it Camelot because it didn't feel like Camelot, but I guess that's what the mortals would call it, so let's call it Camelot. He had his eye on this very young but very headstrong will worker there. I believe she was an order of uh, um what was it? I think she was what, Verbena? Matthias? And Matthias just not even looking at anything.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so the thing was, one thing led to another, and Matthias really wanted to
I happen
introduce
to be
himself.
Verbena as well.
Oh. And she smiles and then looks at Matthias, looks back at you, and she says, well, then it makes perfect sense. Well, you see, Matthias wanted to introduce himself to this young thing, and he quite had the eye for her. But alas, uh, Merlin and a few others prevented him from, well, seeing her due to, oh, what were the reasons again? Merlin has his reasons, but
He
you know
always
them.
has his reasons.
Indeed, he does.
Stubborn old man that he is.
Indeed. And he bade the Lady of the Lake to keep an eye on him and prevent him from leaving his duties and his post, so to speak. So I made a little bet with him. I said he would never find a way to get out of this predicament because she was too smart for him. And lo and behold, I would have never thought he would have distracted her and gotten away from there simply by dropping a deuce, so to speak, in the lake. I have to admit,
That's one
Matthias,
way
that
to
was
distract her.
I have to admit, Matthias, that was very clever, but very stupid. Matthias, he's gone at this point. He's just hammering his head against the tree gently. Just no. He probably got the idea from Nitus. That does sound something like he would do. So anyway, he got to meet this lass, and then lo and behold, he must have said something ghastly, because when I was at my post in front of the guard tower, I watched the second tower explode in a giant pillar of fire, and lo and behold, Dahlia, who do I see go flying from the tower into the woods, almost like a speeding comet? But our dear old Matthias. Apparently, it didn't go over very well.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
As for the incident, it is probably the reason of how Matthias came to gain such attention, and then was betrothed. Then she looks at him twice. But Matthias is a man who does not wish to have arranged marriage. He wishes to choose his partner for life, which I have to admit I respect. When you see something you want, you go for it, and you pursue it until you get it.
I have to agree, arranged marriages seem so
Indeed.
wrong. We don't
Yeah,
choose who we love.
indeed. That's why I told most of my family to shove it. They tried to marry me off to this wealthy puka who didn't know the first thing about actually getting his hands dirty, if you know what I mean. So I left. And lo and behold, I find that one of my closest allies and my ex betrothed is here in Orlando. Well, I wasn't too happy about that. And again, I'm sorry for coming on to your holdings, your land, without permission. That was rude of me, and it did not follow protocol. That is something I must stand for, since clearly Matthias here does not.
Just ask next time.
Of course. She sits down on one of the benches you have, and she says, Tasha Romanoff, old ally of Matthias, fought with him for a long time. We used to be part of a barony that the humans now call Moscow, Russia, part of the Northern Kingdom, one of the ice. Long time ago. She says, if Matthias is here, then I take it the rumors I heard about him and the library are true.
I
Hey,
believe so.
it's as I told them again, Tasha. I'm the only one willing to do things. Fezzi and Nitus followed. Indeed they did. And she looks at Matthias and then looks at Dahlia. And then she kind of licks her tongue a little bit, and then she says, so, Matthias, you and her, and then Matthias just looks at her and he's like, I will do something painful to you. And she's just laughing at this point. She's like, I would like to see you try. It's like, you sure? I've gotten a little bit stronger since we last fought. And she says, oh, nonsense. You're still far too predictable. And Matthias is just red. Like, he might as well be a fire troll at this point. Well, I suppose I'll leave you two alone. I did interrupt something. I hope I didn't. She kind of chuckles and she puts her hands on her hips and kind of sways them kind of awkwardly and then looks at Matthias. And she says, I hope I didn't put off the mood, Matthias. And Matthias just has his...
Dahlia's turn to turn red.
Matthias is just like bumping his head on the tree. And she's like, well, Matthias, if you ever need me, as I said, you and I are each other's sword and shield. If you need me, simply call me. And I will go have a little chat with Fezzi and Nitus. I have to admit, Nitus has some fun new contraptions I'd like to test out. And she bows to you, Dahlia, and then she leaps over the wall like it's nothing. Out of character, that's the power called hopscotch. And in character, yes, you can see her magic work.
So,
He's like,
you
here it
have some
comes.
explaining to.
I haven't told you about the event. I was going to tell you in a very dramatic way, but then we were interrupted. I suppose the cat's out of the bag now, so to speak.
She'll come back over and offer him a hand since he's,
Got double teamed. Yeah, he accepts. He says, okay. It hurts to remember, so I'll do the best I can.
Come on, let's go inside.
Thank you.
She goes inside and fixes him a cup of lavender and chamomile tea.
He very subtly, very subtly, you notice that when you pour him tea and you kind of like move it anywhere, like anytime you touch the tea or start to move it, he visibly kind of like flinches like you're going to spill it on him again, but he doesn't.
She sets the tea on the table. Fine then, pick it up yourself.
He goes to pick it up and then he looks at you, looks back down at the tea and just kind of slowly picks it up almost like it's a bomb. And he just sets it down, pours it, sets it back very cautiously. then he looks at it like he's about to drink it, and then he stops, sniffs it, looks back at you.
It's lavender and chamomile.
Takes a sip, smiles.
I'm not trying to poison you.
He smiles a bit, and you see that his demeanor has shifted. He becomes much more friendly and lighthearted. He says, "Where to start? Well, let's make a longer story short." And he starts telling you details about it. Matthias was once a knight. He, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the barony that is in northern Europe or northern Russia, but that was the one he was a part of. And apparently he fought for a long time with Dark Fae and a few opposing houses that were basically breaking all forms of changeling law. And the conflict was going well for a while until one day a particular group of Dark Fae came allied with Dreamers. Or at least most of them were Dreamers. Some of them were men with weapons. They had designs on words on their uniforms, their armor. The words Pentex.
Her eyes widen at that.
They came with the Dark Fae. They were allied.
By the way, it's the Empire of the Firebird. Is Russia, Ukraine, and Siberia.
Empire of the Firebird. That is the one he was a part of.
Mostly populated by House Varich, but...
Mm-hmm. They...
Tsar Ivan and Tsarina Ekaterina.
Ekaterina! Yes, I know those ones. I had completely forgotten I had read about them. Yep.
It's their freehold.
I read about them a while ago. Pauses for a moment, and he says, I was not ready at the time to face them. None of us were. No one survived. Just us four. And even then, we suffered a lot. I came back, I was told, and I informed. And for whatever reason, for my troubles, I was stripped of rank and had all of my holdings withdrawn and was cast out. In one last attempt, I sought revenge on those who had taken my fallen comrades. I failed.
We all fail sometimes.
I didn't think I would survive. I thought this was the end, that I would fade.
Be undone is the term.
To be undone. To be no more. And lo and behold, Not a fae. Not a will worker. Not a freaking. And he laughs and he's crying, but he seems to be in slightly better spirits. And he says, "Not even freaking a damn kindred and a demon to be rescued by a kindred and a demon in that moment."
Taryn.
Yes. And I thought to myself at that moment, what is this world coming to? What is everything coming to? Is this what it means to be undone?
She's gonna kind of move over and sit on his lap and just kind of wrap her arms around him.
He embraces you. He says, and they just like that, Sam and Taryn. And Taryn's sister, of course. Last time I never would have thought that they would just aid me just out of the blue for no reason. I thought, no, they must want payment. They must want something. But no, when I came to, I was in a place known as Chicago. I learned a lot there about my kind, about your kind, about the kindred, about the lupines. Many things were known. We learned that a lot of the squabbles that I had been fighting and killing over and watching my allies die over was all for nothing. They promised me vengeance. I have not gotten vengeance yet, but I have gotten some. And I learned who the true enemy of the Fae is. And I learned who the true enemy of existence is. So, I began to gather allies. I talked with some of my old friends and figured it was best if everyone thought I was gone, that I was undone. But I shouldn't have lied to my allies like that. But they had holdings, they had standing. They didn't. I couldn't associate them with me like that, especially not after what I had done. If a simple failure was enough to banish me, imagine how they would have treated my allies if they had known that I had worked with kindred and other beings. But they're here.
You've told me your story. I guess it's time I told you mine.
He looks up at you.
You probably noticed that I keep it rather cool in here so that I have to wear a jacket.
Yeah, I did notice that.
She'll stand up and take the jacket off. And this is probably the first time you've seen her in something that isn't long sleeves. And you almost instantly see why. Covering her arms are burn marks that look like they're probably from cigarettes.
He looks it looks like it pains him to look at that, and he reaches out very slowly and touches one of the burn marks, and you feel when his touch goes across you, it feels very cool.
She kind of winces a little bit at first. I grew up in the foster care system. My mother gave me up for adoption when I was born. I, for a long time, bounced from foster home to foster home. Only one ever stuck for any length of time. When I was around the time I hit puberty. And I still wish to this day it hadn't stuck. I wish I had just aged out of the system. We were a check to them. A check that they could do whatever they wanted to do, too. She kind of starts tearing up.
He kind of rubs over one of the burn marks again, and he pulls you into an embrace. No one who should have one under their care should ever treat one like that.
You probably noticed the shouting things they did. I haven't been diagnosed, but I assume PTSD.
Holds you very close.
My foster brother. When seriously? Why you gotta ruin the mood, kid?
My foster brother had a child.
When the night of my 16th birthday, my foster father snuck into my bedroom. When my foster brother found out the next morning, he took me and we ran. And we were on the streets till about a year ago.
He holds you tightly, but he slowly starts to kind of stroke the back of your head.
For 4 years, we worked hard and saved every penny. Every penny that didn't go to food, anyway. And just before we got enough to buy this place, this house, he was killed in said it was mistaken identity.
Who did? Who did this?
A drug dealer. In that moment, I awakened. Paradox backlash it caused killed the drug dealer and several of their lackeys, but it was already too late. He was dead.
Sorry.
So I bought this place. Then Merlin found me.
A lot of us always said that he was evil. I, for one, I saw him as more than that. I don't think it's a coincidence that you and I met.
Probably not. Everything happens for a reason.
You can feel his forehead touch yours.
She does still have tears kind of streaming down her cheeks.
Yep, he's just going to hold you. He will not move or touch you in a way that you do not give him permission to.
Cheese kind of leans against him. Way to break the tension, buddy.
All fathers, all mothers, all those who have those under their care should never treat someone like that. That is disgraceful. I will never touch you, Dahlia, in any way that you do not give me permission to. Ever.
Sorry, I had to do an emergency diaper change.
Mm-hmm.
There was a blowout.
I think at this time it is a good point to pause on this scene and go to Taryn and Clea.
Hello.
Yes, because we have been dealing with the feels over here.
So, Clea, this will take place right after you and Taryn had your little escapade.
I
And
don't know
Clea,
about an escapade. We just teleported to the werewolf. No biggie.
and
Yeah.
Taryn, Clea, you and Taryn walk up to the White Wolf, and it's closed.
Yeah, there's a sign on the door that states, "We apologize for the inconvenience, but we will be closed until further notice."
No.
Oh, Taryn at first looks a bit peeved, and then he pauses for a moment. He says, "Well, that's interesting. That
No.
can't be good for Alexei."
He knows that in the 3 or so months that he has owned, that Alexei has owned the White Wolf, It's never once been closed. Ever. He
Yeah.
doesn't even close on the weekends.
Yeah, Clea, as the minutes tick by, you can see Taryn's face just get more and more worried looking.
What's wrong? I mean, okay, bars close sometimes, right?
He's never been closed in 3 years.
3 months.
3 months, sorry.
Maybe there was an emergency or something?
What kind of an emergency would tell a werewolf to shut down his bar?
Mm, I don't know. Maybe he had a tummy ache or something. I, well, I mean, you could
Taryn,
call
Taryn,
him.
Taryn stumbles a bit and grabs onto the railing that's nearby.
What's wrong? Are you not feeling okay?
Yeah, just a little bit. He was he was here. He was standing right here.
Okay,
That,
you're worrying me now. Like, who was? When?
that murderous intent. Jack was right here. He was standing right here.
When?
He jumps over the railing and starts looking through this kind of this what looks to be a pile of trash, like black bags and everything.
If I turn on the side thingy, do I see anything?
With prime sight, you'll both see it at around the same time since he has some little bit of vision stuff. But you both see a glowing object amongst the bags, and Taryn pulls it out, and there's a package. Inside the wrapped package is a very long and nasty ceremonial blade. And next to the blade, there's a letter. And it says, "It seems your friends are finding themselves in quite a bit of trouble, Taryn. No wonder everyone you seem to notice dies. It's not really my business to interfere with that lot. But if they don't kill poor Alexei, maybe I'll have some fun with him." As Taryn starts to crumple the letter, it just bursts into flame, and it just falls to ash.
Who would want to harm Alexei? Why? You know who that was from?
Settle an old debt. Apparently, this goes a little bit deeper than I thought it did.
I'm
Damn
a
it.
bit confused.
I don't know much about this Jack. I met him once. He
Wait,
worked.
you have actually met him?
Yes. I met him back before he became what he is today.
Right, so. Was this letter from him?
I don't know. I don't know. He's too clever for me to really comprehend that.
And how about the knife?
This definitely is one of his. He starts to grab it, and the blade, you can see Taryn like look at it and start to squeeze it really hard, and he looks at it very intensely, and the blade slowly starts to melt.
I don't know if this is a good idea because it's melting and we won't be able to get anything from it.
We wouldn't be able to get anything from it anyway. One of the Tremere already tried that earlier and got stabbed for his troubles.
Mm.
Don't go anywhere alone in this city, Clea.
Well, I think I have Auburn following
Chris,
me. Yeah.
yes, he's a good guy. He'll keep you safe. As for what happened to Alexei, damn it.
What
Damn
did
it.
you
Damn
call
it.
him?
Taryn very regrettably looks at his phone.
Taryn
Joe.
would know that there is a key to the White Wolf in one of the light fixtures.
Hmm. If he'll go for the key, if it's not there, then he'll use portal to go through the door. But if he can find the key, then he'll
The key is indeed there.
open it. Oh. Clea,
Yeah.
are you armed?
Um. Is that a trick question?
I mean a gun.
Not here.
Where is your gun?
With my bike back at
He
the casino.
he'll open up a little he'll like pull out one of those little leather cases that's circular, almost like one you put a thermos in. And he opens it up and reaches inside and he hands you your gun.
Fully assembled.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Oh, okay, that was cool. Thanks.
Photo magic. He winks. And then he opens the door. And he pulls out a flashlight, but it's doesn't look like an ordinary flashlight, at least not for the year 2000. What does he see inside, Dolly?
Inside the White Wolf itself, there doesn't appear to be much. It's quiet. There is the door to the apartment, but that's about it.
Taryn looks at you, Clea, and he says, "Go into the shadows. Cloak yourself."
Okay. I guess I have to roll the stealth edge.
Roll me an arete roll for your shroud thingy, and then roll me stealth with whatever additional bonuses we'll get here. Let's see.
Okay, what difficulty will the thing be?
If you're going to use a foci, this will be. I'm at 2, so that's 2 plus 3, that's 5. So this will be difficulty 4.
What could I be using as a focus for that?
This would be your mind, so you could use your special foci for it and reduce it down to 3.
Oh, for the earpiece thingy.
Yes, because this
Yeah,
is
okay.
technically this involves a mind effect. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll do that. Okay. Don't fail me. Okay, 3 successes.
Very good. So let's see, 2, 4, 6. So add 6 dice to your stealth check.
Ooh, okay. More. Uh, okay. Standard diff, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a nice roll.
so so not in the magical sense, but in the literal sense, or figurative sense, I should say, you become one with the shadows.
Awesome.
Taryn is going to pull out his light and kind of, when he shines it toward the other way, Clea, it's almost like the shadow where you are increases, and the area that you're in becomes even darker, hiding you even more. But you're not, like, your sight and vision is not affected in any way.
Okay.
And Taryn is going to call out, Lexi, you here, old boy?
There's some movement upstairs, up in the apartment.
Lexi, it's me, Mr. T. You want to come down and have a drink?
He comes down. As he comes down, it becomes blatantly obvious that he's been crying. His eyes are red and swollen. He's got huge dark circles under his eyes. It looks like he probably hasn't slept in a couple of days.
Jeez, Alexi, what the hell happened? Taryn looks over at Clea and he signals, the okay.
Yeah, Cleo will get out of the hiding, put down the gun.
Alexi, what the hell happened?
He would know that recently he had been in a really good mood. He had started seeing someone.
Oh no. Taryn kind of dims the
Fucking
light down.
spirals.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. No, Alexi, no.
They took her and several of the other kinfolk, including her daughter. And I know what they do in those fucking pits.
All right. Well, tell me, Alexi, when are we going down there to fuck shit up, as they say?
I can't go unless I find someone to watch Jack.
I know those.
Not many people are willing to watch a Metascaru.
I know some that will. Out of character, if you are willing to allow me, I do have some characters that would be willing to watch him if there are none to watch him.
Well, he would normally have Maeve watch him, but with her being exceedingly pregnant,
Yeah.
he's worried
Correct.
that something will happen. So he does not want to leave him with Maeve, especially just in case something happens to him.
Alexi, if you need someone to watch your child, I know of those that are very trustworthy who can.
He nods.
I'm very confused.
Do you know much about Black Spiral dancers, Clea?
Black what? Mm,
Make a long story short. Evil werewolves. There you go.
Then I know nothing about them.
Tainted beings. Let's put it that way.
And you mean these guys are like snatching people up?
Yes. They steal them and use them for breeding.
What? What?
Clea,
Yeah.
roll me an arete roll diff 10.
uh, okay, am I allowed to use willpower on that?
No.
Oh my god. This is gonna so fail. Come on. I don't wanna get paradox shit. Fuck. Nope.
You did not botch, so you do not
Yeah.
gain paradox.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't have been for that. But, Clea, you have a memory.
Oh. Oh god.
You.
Give me a second to open my notebook.
Oh yeah, you'll want to take notes for this.
Yeah. Fuck. Shit. Okay, hit me.
You're walking through a long tunnel. You have a gun, a light at the end of it. You're dressed in some kind of gear. You're walking with others and you're looking around a tunnel and you're communicating. Primary threat, did you spot it? Number 3. You answer, no. Very well, proceed on. And you continue to look down. It's very dark. You're in some kind of catacomb, it seems. And then it switches to a stone. A smooth stone, carved very well. And after a while, you hear a sound from behind you. You turn, you and the one you're with. The ally that you supposedly had with you is gone. You take back to back. You scan the darkness. Nothing comes out at you. You see a shape emerge from the darkness. You duck. It is a giant sword. It smashes into the cavern wall and cracks it. You duck and you shoot at this thing. Looks just like a man, but something's off about it. You can't quite see it in the shadows. It just doesn't look right. The sword swings again, and you barely avoid it. The fight continues for a while, and you're smacked on the head with something. You're thrown into a wall, and you go through it. You feel an unbelievable pain on your right arm. You run through a tunnel, and you emerge. And you see a sign. The sign says, "Welcome to Silent Hill." You sit down and you run towards other allies, people dressed like you. A giant SWAT van, uniforms, etc. They ask you, what did you see? You tell them what happened. You tell them everything you do. They check your camera. And then as you slowly come back to, you see a name painted on the side of the SWAT van. It says Pentex. And you look over to your right just before the vision fades, and you see one of your allies start to take off his uniform, and he starts to change into something very large, black, claws, fangs, fur, something standing a good 6'9", maybe 7 feet tall, pointy ears, and glowing bright red eyes. And you are thrown back to yourself in the bar.
Okay, Claire is shaking her head like, what the fuck is happening to me? Like, ow. Okay.
You feel like you're gonna hurl.
Hurl?
Yeah, like you're gonna throw up.
Oh. I'm not feeling very well.
Roll me a stamina check.
Shit.
Diff 6.
It's just stamina.
Just plain stamina.
Oh god. Okay, 2 successes.
Okay, so you're able to go over to a trash can. You're able to make it over to a toilet or trash can.
Oh god. I will not make puking noises.
You You notice, Clea, that vomit shouldn't be pitch black.
Okay, that's okay. Oh fuck. Fucking terrified at this point.
Taryn's over by you. He's like, you all right?
No,
Alexi is also going to come over.
I think there's something wrong with me.
You feel another thing coming up. Puke again. You puke again. This black liquid comes out of her mouth.
Up, time for a rite of cleansing.
Yep. Because guess what it smells like, Alexi?
It smells like worm.
Yep.
Ugh.
What? Where
You
the
you
fuck
hear
did that
Alexi
come from?
growl.
You notice
What?
that this is dying pretty quickly, Alexi. When it comes out of her body, it's like she's expelling it forcefully, and it seems to be fading. It actually, if does Alexi have speak with spirits? Does he have
Yes,
spirit
he
speech?
does.
He hears screaming in the black ooze, and he hears, "Ah, damn, that woman is mine."
That's 6 successes for the rite of cleansing.
Yep. And as he cleanses it, I'll say it's just a puddle, gnosis or two
Yep,
for
he's got
the
10.
cleansing.
So
Yeah. So gnosis or two, whatever you prefer. And as he purifies it, you hear the screaming go, "No, I need her. She cannot get away from me. You dare expel me." It's like it starts to choke out, and then the rite of cleansing pops, and it just vanishes.
I'm dizzy.
fucking worm taint in my bar.
What the hell was that? What's happening to me?
There is no more worm taint that comes from her. No smell whatsoever. Clea, why did you just spit out worm taint?
I don't even know what that is. What's happening to me?
I guess you get to give a history lesson.
Yeah, I'll give one. Little voice that only Taryn and Alexi can hear. Well, I guess she finally expelled it. Good. Next step of the purification process has begun.
Well, Clea is
Taryn.
terrified though, and she's
Yep.
probably rolled up into a ball on the floor.
When Taryn hears that voice, he kind of looks around. He's trying to see where it came from, but there's nothing there. All right, hey Clea, why don't I take you back to your place and we'll give you a little history lesson, okay? We'll get you set up. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay, I guess. I'm not feeling so good.
He'll help you stand. He says, "Alexi,
Hmm.
let me know when we're going to hit them. Let me know when we're going to hit them because I want to be a part of that. Please."
Well, after that roll, he's not going to be doing much of anything. That was a roll for Harno. So probably not long after this, he falls into Hirano,
Mm-hmm.
which means he won't be doing much of anything. Because that was 0 successes.
Taryn looks very sad, but he knows there's nothing he can do. Says, Alexi, stay strong, man. And then he leaves the bar and closes it, puts the key back where it was.
Lexi will go back upstairs. Put Dolly back up.
Yep. Taryn will take Clea back home. And he'll give you a little rundown on what the Black Spiral Dancers are and whatnot. He doesn't know much, but he'll give you the basic outline. And he'll basically say that, there's worm taint and it's bad, basically. There is worm and it's bad. And
Yeah, I've heard that word before. I heard Damien say that, but I don't know what it is.
think of it as decay. Think of it as corruption itself.
So why was that thing inside me?
Guess is as good as mine. I didn't sense it. None of the mages sensed it. No one sensed it. That's insane.
I keep getting these weird flashbacks and whatnot, and I don't know. I can't piece things together. It's. Mm, I don't know. It's just so tiring.
I'll think you and I and my sister should go investigate someplace. I have work to do at the museum tomorrow night, but say the night after.
What place?
My place. And I'll take you to an interesting area where we may need to do some investigation on what is happening in this city.
Does it have anything to do with what's happening to me?
It may. It may.
Because I'm
It
really
looks
confused right now. Oh, this isn't normal.
you're a mage. Nothing's normal.
Well, yeah, but I don't see anyone else like puking black goo.
Well, to be fair, I did do that back in Jerusalem.
Well, I, I don't know how to respond to that.
Gives a little bit of a half-hearted smile. And he will kiss you on the forehead. And as he walks out your door, he disappears into that weird black kind of shadow.
At least send my bike back.
You hear a thud outside your door.
Oh,
Your
screw
bike
chicken.
your bike is over near your garage.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it in. I'm not gonna leave my baby outside.
And with that, we will do a brief little return to Dahlia and Matthias. As this is actually happening at the same time, after a few moments of some nice feels, Dahlia, he drops to the floor and starts grasping his heart and breathing very heavily.
Time for some of that tasty, tasty Life 3.
Yep. Although it doesn't seem to be effect. Like you slow as you. I won't have you roll for this because you'll easily be able to do it. But go ahead and make me one other roll at every diff 3 since you're in your sanctum.
Two successes.
Easily. You're able to steady his heart rate very easily. But do you have spirit?
Yes. Spirit 3.
Something spiritual is hurting him, and it looks tainted. As
Okay.
you, yeah,
Time for Dahlia to break out the sage.
you break out the sage. Go ahead and roll me another everyday roll, diff 3.
Another 2 successes.
That's enough. Just barely. Your This thing is black, and it twists and writhes and squirms like a snake or a worm. It starts to dissolve and deteriorate when you hit it. It's very difficult for you to do this, but you do it. It's working, and it starts to dissolve and it expels. He tilts his head back like from The Exorcist, where his neck bends out, and all of that darkness expels from his mouth into what sounds like flies or cockroaches or something, and they expel outward and just dissolve into nothing. And then he falls to the floor.
She's going to move over and just kind of set his head in her lap.
He slowly starts to come to. He says, "How on earth, in the wild, how in either was that inside me? How?"
I don't know. But we're going to figure it out.
He starts to breathe a lot more normally. He starts to get a little bit cold, but he looks up at you. If you look at him with the side at all,
Mm-hmm.
um, you'll see him look up at you, and he says, "Don't leave me."
I won't. I'm right here. And I'm not going anywhere.
He embraces you, and that is where we will leave the scene. I will go ahead and do the outro. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another Orlando Ascended. I hope to see you all again soon.